is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Not everything announces itself. Some things simply arrive, and the room is compelled to adjust. This is grooming without apology, without noise, without compromise. Gods and money, organic formulations, clean precision, crafted for skin that does not ask for permission to be felt. Element Cream, a rare hydration layered like an oud at dusk, measured, enduring, unmistakably masculine, moisturizing oil, a quiet revolution, restoring what stress, climate, and time attempts to claim. This is not skincare. It is composure made visible. It is inevitability. Gods and money exist impeccably. Discover the ritual at godsandmoney.com. That's Gods and Money, MONY.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In this hour, Dr. Wilmer Leon and Dr. Thomas Porter have been our very special guests. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Dr. Porter, I had a reflection during the break, and Dr. Leon, of course, is going to be with me for the second hour as well. Had a little reflection about one unspoken aspect of Jesse Jackson in 1984, and that was this. State by state, Jesse Jackson showed and convinced non-African American voters, white voters, that a black candidate could speak to their interests. Mm-hmm. And they had nothing to be afraid of if they articulated those interests. No one had ever done that before. Shirley Chisholm didn't get out the gates. Wasn't in the Iowa caucuses or the New Hampshire primary. And there was a Super Tuesday after New Hampshire, which was very difficult for an African-American candidate. Hell, it was difficult for white candidates to survive Super Tuesday because you ran out of money so quickly. But the black base in the South, from Virginia around to Texas, catapulted Jesse Jackson. He was an ambassador for the way in which every elected official that is African American and Hispanic American today runs for office. Running for office, making a broad base appeal to the economic interests to build the necessary coalition to, let's say, Tom Porter, to get elected to Congress, to get elected statewide to the Senate, let alone to become president of the United States.
he made a significant difference in my campaign. I was in Cincinnati running for Congress because my mother wanted me to come back home. So I said, if I run for Congress, if I win, I'll be there but I ran into 2 counties that were 99% white. And both the black and white leadership in Cincinnati said, essentially, show your literature, but don't show your face. But I went out to a tobacco barn in Brown County, 99% white, and I took a page out of Jesse's book. I said, they told me if I came out here, to not come out here, but show my literature. I don't operate that way. I said, you got 2 choices. If you like what I say, you should vote for me. And if you don't, you shouldn't. But it's a fool that puts his racism over his interests. I got 2,000 more votes than Mondale did, who was top of the ticket in that county, 1,000 more in another county that was 99% white. His reach was broad. He expanded the party, and he did that while fighting against the rules which was stacked against him that was called front loading. He not only fought that, but he fought through that and was able to build this coalition that only Bernie Sanders has really picked up on that in present day politics.
I absolutely agree. Dr. Leon?
Yes, and he was always true to himself. And I just remember during the South Africa apartheid issue and freeing Nelson Mandela, your father was on an ABC News debate with Ted Koppel. And Jerry Falwell and your father were debating. Ted Koppel was the moderator. And Jerry Falwell had these note cards in his hand. And your dad, in the middle of one of Falwell's comments, reached across and snatched the cards out of Jerry Falwell's hand and put the cards on your father's side of the table and looked at Falwell and said, you're supposed to be an expert on this issue. Talk to me without your notes. And Falwell kind of leaned in, and your dad looked at him to say, hey, man, don't even think about it. And Falwell looked at Koppel, and Koppel looked at Falwell as which to say, this is between the two of you. I don't. And I tell that story because of the imagery and the message that action sent across the country. We are not to be trifled with. Don't play us cheap. I mean, that's the message your father sent all the time.
We have about 3 minutes before we come forward. Dr. Porter, we always ask our special guests to leave us with a word of hope. Dr. Leon is going to be with me in the next hour, and we'll get another chance to deliver his word of hope. We have about 3 minutes left. Dr. Porter, what do you have to say to the American people at this hour in a word of hope?
I mean, I would say to them, as Jesse would say, keep hope alive. And I would say to people at this moment where we have a reckless person leading this country, is take a page out of Reverend Jesse Jackson's book, and that is unite around your interests, unite around your humanity, and unite around your future and your future of your children. Jesse did all of that. Reverend Jackson did all of that.
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud that he was a visionary leader. I'm so proud that he gave us a pathway and a framework for moving forward. In no congressional district in this country can you win, particularly in this Voting Rights Act environment, with black votes only. It's impossible for us to have the number of senators in the United States Senate, men and women who have to run statewide, with just black votes only. And so learning as early as the Harold Washington campaign, but even the Richard Gordon Hatcher campaign in Gary, Indiana, that it takes a coalition of like-minded interests to speak beyond race, beyond sex, and to do what is right, to vote those interests, to represent those interests for the high honor of Jesse Jackson Sr.'s life, to lay the foundation for Westmore, to lay the foundation for Barack Obama, to lay the foundation for Kamala Harris, to lay the foundation for Jasmine Crockett in the state of Texas, to lay the foundation for all of us. We owe a debt of gratitude to none other than the Reverend Jesse Jackson. In this hour, our very special guest has been Dr. Thomas Porter, former Dean of Africana Studies at Ohio University, and a former member of CORE, the Congress for Racial Equality, as well as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He went to Syria with the Reverend Jesse Jackson and was a key advisor in 1984. In fact, a key advisor until the untimely death of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Wilmer J. Leon is our very special contributing host, political science, and whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics. Wilmer and I will be back when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you so much, Dr. Porter.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says opponents of his global tariffs are, quote, dancing in the streets, end quote, after the Supreme Court struck down most of them.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy.
Speaking at the White House, Trump said they won't be dancing for long and criticized the conservative justices who sided with liberals. President Trump is hosting a bipartisan group of governors at the White House this weekend. 2 Democratic governors, Black Governor Wes Moore of Maryland and Jared Polis of Colorado, were initially disinvited from a working breakfast but later welcomed back. The National Governors Association briefly pulled out, saying it could not attend a meeting that excluded governors. And the city of Beverly Hills is apologizing to Black Celtics star Jaylen Brown after police shut down a private event for his sportswear brand, 741. City officials now say they received inaccurate information about the permit. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Intense game last night at the Intuit in Inglewood. The Clippers held on for a 115-114 win over Denver and may have found a rising star in the process. Benedict Mathurin, making his home debut with the Clippers, dropped 38 points off the bench. When the Clippers got Mathurin 2 weeks ago in the trade with Indiana, I told folks this guy has some pop to his game. Clippers Nation is going to like him. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. 34 straight games, Kawhi has scored at least 20. The Clippers and Lakers meet up tonight in downtown LA at Crypto.com. First game for the Lakers after the All-Star break. 20 straight wins for the UCLA women's basketball team. UCLA, the number 2 team in the country behind UConn, beat Washington last night 82-67. 23 points and 8 rebounds for Bruins center Lauren Betts. The Bruins' last loss was to Texas on November 26. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the art of conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on this February, Black History Month. Our very special contributing host is Wilmer Leon, PhD, political scientist, whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was a lecturer in the political science department at Howard University. He's the host and producer of the nationally broadcast radio show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM satellite radio channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war ethics, and the American political landscape in the Age of Obama. He's also a contributing author to Democratic Destiny and the District of Columbia, Lexington Books 2010. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Meat Friday.
A pleasure as always, man. Thanks for having me back.
I also want to welcome Dr. Gerald Horne, an American historian who holds the John J. and Rebecca Morse Chair of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. Dr. Horne was raised in St. Louis, Missouri. After his undergraduate education at Princeton University, he received his PhD from Columbia University and a JD from the University of California, Berkeley. Dr. Horne holds the John J. Rebecca Moore Chairs of African and African American Studies at the University of Houston. He's the contributing editor of Political Affairs magazine. In 1992, Dr. Horne was a candidate for the United States Senate on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket. Dr. Horne, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Horne, your thoughts on the passing of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, as well as the legacy that he leads and represents.
Well, first of all, a housekeeping point, which I'm sure you can address. As a historian, I trust and I hope that his papers and his archive will be preserved and donated to an appropriate repository, I presume in Chicago, because we need historians to be poring over his legacy for some years to go going forward. With regard to his legacy, I see it in multiple ways. I think of the international situation, first of all, that is to say, the anti-apartheid activism, the fact that he was in the vanguard and the forefront with regard to Palestinian self-determination. And if you're in the vanguard and at the head of the line of march, you are bound to get arrows in your chest. And the fact that he was able to withstand that speaks well for him. I would also point to his solidarity with Cuba at a moment when there is an attempt by the Trump regime to strangle that particular island. We know that this is nothing new. This has been ongoing since 1959. And Reverend Jackson had the intelligence and the courage to stand alongside Cuba, to stand against the blockade, for example. And I would also point to his cultural contributions. One of the things I've noticed that you may have noticed as well is that in terms of paying homage to the Reverend Jackson, we have been listening quite a bit to the bit he did with Cannonball Adderley's quintet some years ago, where he provided a kind of mini lecture with regard to the introduction of the song Walk Tall. And it's quite inspiring. And perhaps one of your producers can dig it out, because I think your audience would find it enlightening.
When I was growing up, we used to call him Uncle Cannonball. And I've got pictures with Cannonball Adderley when I'm 4 and 5 years old. He also wrote a song called Country Preacher.
Right.
And that's what they called my dad. He dedicated that song to Jesse Jackson Sr., Country Preacher. Cannonball Adderley, along with his brother Nate Adderley, were absolutely two amazing and fantastic individuals, and really also represented a turning point in jazz. Jesse Jackson made a major cultural contribution in that regard. Dr. Leon?
Well, I remember when my father brought that album, Country Preacher, home from Tower Records. I remember that day when he dropped the needle. And, it's rough and tough in this ghetto. A lot of fun stuff going down, but you got to walk tall. Walk tall. As Dr. Horn was talking about South Africa, talking about Cuba, we can throw in Syria, we can throw in Iraq, because he went in and I think negotiated with Saddam and freed some folks. I think it's important to realize that your father was able to do that because he represented our movement at that time. And at that time, our movement and our struggle still meant something. It still resonated. It still had international impact. I talked in the first hour about his, and Gerald, you might be able to comment more on this, about his involvement of voter rights and turnout of blacks in Britain. Mm-hmm. I mean, he if you might want to elaborate on that, because he represented our struggle when our struggle still mattered. And unfortunately, I say still mattered because I don't know that there's anyone in electoral politics today that's black that is representing that in the manner in which your father did.
Well, I would add also in terms of the connective tissue that unites him with the person who might be called his mentor, speaking of Dr. King. The connective tissue, in a sense, being a key advisor to both of these giants. I'm thinking of the late Jack Odell.
Hunter Pitts Odell, Jack. Go ahead, Dr. Horn.
You got a lot of personal reflections. I'd like to hear from you.
We got about a minute before we come forward, but no, we've got to go to our break. When we come forward, more with Dr. Horn, who is calling the roll on all of Jesse's men. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her, ugly over down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, Dr. Gerald Horn, an American historian who holds the John J. Rebecca Morse Chair of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. His relentless tenacity for scholarly achievement is captured in over 36 books, 100 scholarly publications, and most recently, his receipt of the 2021 American Book Award for The Dawning of the Apocalypse: The Roots of Slavery, White Supremacy, Settler Colonialism, and Capitalism in the Long 16th Century. Dr. Horn, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're always welcome to be here. And also, our co-contributing host today on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show is none other than Dr. Wilmer Leon, a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
So Jack Odell was an African-American activist, writer, and communist, best known for his role in the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. During World War II, he was an organizer for the National Maritime Union. He worked for over 20 years on Freedom Way's Journal, both as editor and contributor. He was forced out of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference by Martin Luther King Jr. after pressure was brought to bear due to Odell's prior membership in the Communist Party. In fact, they called Martin Luther King Jr. a communist because of Jack Odell. Jack Odell could not find a job. And to deepen his global understanding, Odell traveled to South Africa, Palestine, Central America, and in the 70s and 80s, he was hired and worked closely with Jesse Jackson as a senior foreign policy advisor to the Jesse Jackson for President campaign in 1984 and as international affairs consultant to the National Rainbow Coalition. From 77 to 97, Odell was chairman of the board of Pacifica Foundation that operates the listener-sponsored Pacific Radio Network. Dr. Horn, thank you very much for mentioning the name Jack Odell.
Well, it's my pleasure because, like many of us, I knew Jack. I worked with him on Pacifica Radio. And as a historian, I recall all too well the vignette, the episode when President Kennedy took Martin Luther King into the Rose Garden to escape perhaps microphones in the Oval Office planted by the bulldog-like leader of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. There was a suspicion that the FBI was tapping the president. And he instructed Dr. King to get rid of Jack Odell. Mm-hmm. And Dr. King ambiguously suggested that he would go down that path, but then he proceeded not to do so, which then upped the ante, causing J. Edgar Hoover to call Dr. King one of the most notorious liars in the country, for example. And it took a bit of courage, I should say, for Jesse Jackson Sr. to hire Jack, given what some might call his background or his checkered background. But I think it was wise in retrospect because as ambitious and as talented and as intelligent Jesse Jackson was, we oftentimes need to be surrounded by people of similar ambition, talent, and intelligence in order to go to the next level. And that's what Jack Odell helped to provide. And as you know, Jack lived into his 90s, passing away in self-imposed exile in British Columbia, Canada, just a few years ago. And we miss him terribly. And I should also add, to my point earlier about Jesse Jackson's archive, that it would be appropriate at this moment, if it hasn't been done already, to file a Freedom of Information Act request with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the CIA with regard to files they may have, I know they have, on Jesse Jackson, because as a biographer and as a historian, we really can't take the full measure of a gigantic figure like Jesse Jackson unless we have knowledge of what he was up against, for example. Otherwise, it's like trying to evaluate a boxing match by looking at one of the fighters, just by looking at Reverend Jackson without looking at who was trying to knock him down, for example. So those are amongst my archival tips to those so inclined.
Dr. Leon?
Jack Odell. I was very blessed. Tom Porter introduced me to Jack. And so I was able to develop a relationship with Jack in his later years. He was a regular guest on my radio show, and just a brilliant and incredibly humble guy. Just always, so long as you called him after 11 in the morning, he was always willing to take the call. But I just have to ditto what Dr. Horn just said, and we will never get the full measure of the significance of your father, just to reiterate Gerald's point, until we clearly understand whether it was your father or Dr. King or Malcolm. We've started to get a clearer picture of the resistance that Malcolm and Dr. King met, but we won't be able to get a full measure of your father until we truly understand the forces and the headwinds that he faced.
Jack Odell, I think, was an extremely important influence on Martin Luther King Jr., his internationalist vision. And I know that he was of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So there's no doubt. His maritime travels took him to parts of the world and introduced him to people around the world that would influence the contribution that he would bring back to the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesse Jackson. He was a reservoir of information, of knowledge, of scholarship, of thinking. And his contribution to the 1984 as well as 1988 Democratic Convention speeches, the extent to which Jesse Jackson talks about international affairs, I can't think of anyone who had a higher impact on the development of that thinking, if not direct input in the speeches themselves, Dr. Horn, than Jack Odell.
And of course, we also need to look at the other side of the coin. I think that if we were to take the full measure of the Reverend Jackson, we know to a degree what he was up against. For example, in New York City, during those pivotal primaries, when Mayor Ed Koch was quite unpleasant and quite unprincipled with regard to his confrontation with the Reverend Jackson. And I would say the same to a degree for Al Gore, the former senator from Tennessee and now the venture capitalist. I'm sure he would be willing to apologize. At least I hope he would be willing to apologize at this late date. And even President Clinton would help to catapult him into prominence, as a number of the obituaries of the Reverend Jackson have mentioned, was in front of Reverend Jackson. He denounced the rapper Sister Soldier, which was seen by the right wing as an emblem of Mr. Clinton's courage to be able to put the black man in his place. So I think that the Reverend Jackson will be repaying the attention of biographers and historians for some years to come.
Jesse, may I ask Dr. Horn a question?
Please.
Gerald, one of the things that I mentioned in the first hour was Reverend Jackson's focus on race and class. But during a major part of his career, it was almost a binary conversation that you either had to pick one or the other. And, you look at the work of people like Thomas Sowell and individuals like that. But one of the things that that always resonated with me was how Reverend Jackson always spoke about the issues regarding race and class, but race was always front and center.
Well, and of course, that whole alleged dichotomy, that whole alleged binary is something of a misdirection. Because since we know that the Black population is the lineal descendant of the unpaid sector of the working class, and even today, 90+% of the Black community sells its labor for a wage. Even today, we know that the most pro-union constituency in the United States of America happens to be the Black community. If you look at the front ranks of the Service Employees International Union, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, the Postal Workers Union, for example, inevitably, unavoidably, inescapably, you'll find Black workers in the vanguard. And I think that the Reverend Jackson instinctively recognized this, which is one of the reasons why he received so many votes during those pivotal years of 1984 and 1988, why he received such significant support from unions, and to come full circle, why he received support from Jack Odell, who, as noted, was one time a leading member of the National Maritime Union, the Union of Seafarers, and it was in that particular occupation that he was able to sail around the world from port to port, gathering intelligence, which he was then able to transmute into political intelligence.
I think he froze.
Oh, I think he did as well. Dr. Porter will log back in just a moment. I'm thinking that when we look at the figures, these hidden figures, if you will, Dr. Leon, like Jack Odell, you think about these men and women who are deeply rooted in a Marxism. I will not say a Stalinism, but definitely a Marxism, where this question of the economic distribution of systems and the value systems that come from those systems were more in line with the Christian ethos than the present capitalist system that we presently live in. And I think I don't know any person who's ever lived in my short 60 years who was more pronounced and clear on that than Jack Odell.
All right. Go ahead, Gerald.
No, I would say he had good reason to be that way, because when you go beyond the narrow confines of the United States of America, let's return to South Africa, for example, we recognize that even today in South Africa, there is an alliance between the ruling African National Congress and the South African Communist Party. In fact, during the bad old days of apartheid, one of the demands put forward by Washington was that Nelson Mandela's ANC break its ties to the South African Communist Party, which he refused to do, including while being interviewed on stage by Ted Koppel of Nightline, ABC, for example. And Jack Odell was able to bring that tradition into an otherwise right-wing leaning United States of America, which of course brought brickbats raining down on his head in an attempt to demonize those who were so bold and audacious as to employ him, including Dr. King and the Reverend Jackson.
I am so proud of the bravery of these men and these women, what they confronted in that whole era of the Red Scare. And it's the Red Scare plus the idea that these were Black people who were free thinking, who were rejecting almost everything about what it meant to be in America, save for the amendable Constitution itself, because inherent in the way in which America was presenting itself to us was nothing short of racist and white supremacist. And so, wow, Jack Odell, what an amazing name. And I'm also thinking about Steve Cobble. I'm also thinking about Ron Daniels. I'm also thinking about some of the Lou Carter, who worked our Southern campaign. I'm thinking about these men and these women who paid the ultimate sacrifice but remained in the shadows. And they really inspired, encouraged, and informed the thinking of Jesse Jackson. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour, contributor, is none other than Dr. Wilmer Leon, and Dr. Gerald Horn is our very special guest, American historian, who holds the John J. and Rebecca Morse Chair of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. We're studying Jesse Jackson and his influences when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says he's deeply disappointed after the Supreme Court struck down his authority to impose sweeping global tariffs under a 1977 law.
And I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
In response, he announced plans to implement a 10% global tariff under the Trade Act of 1974. A new Economist YouGov poll finds 47% of Americans surveyed say the word racist accurately describes President Trump, while 24% disagree and 29% have no opinion. And rappers Travis Scott and Kanye West will headline the Helwa Festival in Italy this July. The two will take the main stage at RCF Arena during the festival's closing weekend, joining a lineup that includes rappers Offset, Ice Spice, Wiz Khalifa, and more. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Intense game last night at the Intuit in Inglewood. The Clippers held on for a 115-114 win over Denver and may have found a rising star in the process. Benedict Mathurin, making his home debut with the Clippers, dropped 38 points off the bench. When the Clippers got Mathurin 2 weeks ago in the trade with Indiana, I told folks this guy has some pop to his game. Clippers Nation is going to like him. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. 34 straight games, Kawhi has scored at least 20. The Clippers and Lakers meet up tonight in downtown LA at Crypto.com. First game for the Lakers after the All-Star break. 20 straight wins for the UCLA women's basketball team. UCLA, the number 2 team in the country behind UConn, beat Washington last night 82-67. 23 points and 8 rebounds for Bruins center Lauren Betts. The Bruins' last loss was to Texas on November 26th. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Wilmer J. Leon, PhD, political scientist, public policy advocate, and public lecturer. Dr. Leon is the host, producer of the nationally broadcast radio show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. He also contributing author to the Democratic Destiny of the District of Columbia, Lexington Books 2010. There is some talk, and we're not quite clear yet on where Reverend Jackson will lie in repose in Washington, D.C., but since Dr. Leon has written a book on Democratic Destiny and the District of Columbia, I should share with you that I've just been contacted by the government of the District of Columbia, and there is interest in hosting Reverend Jackson in the very facility where the mayor's office is in Washington, D.C. And so that's becoming more and more fascinating because there are other options, including Howard University, including the African American History Museum, all of whom would be honored to host the Reverend Jesse Jackson, even if the Congress of the United States cannot get its act together. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Leon, are there other influences in this hour that you think helped shape the destiny of Jesse Jackson's thinking?
You know, yes. One of the Ella Baker, for example. The first time I was actually in the same space with your father was at my alma mater, Hampton Institute. He came to Hampton at I think it was 1979, and before he spoke, he went to the gym and played basketball, and the gym was packed with students who were, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get on the floor, but just being in that space, and I'm just reflecting on this because I remember, I think it was Mrs. Hamer who taught the members of SNCC, if you want to organize people, you have to go to where they are and you have to work among them. You can't come in and just tell them what they need. You have to listen to what they want. And so your father coming into the gym and engaging and interacting with the students on the students' level, then going to Ogden Hall and delivering his message and about telling us that, of course, we are somebody. And that, again, is not just, as many people want to dismiss it, as just some trite phrase. When you go to an HBCU and you tell a group of students you are somebody, you've got to believe in yourself before you can get anyone to believe in you. You have to value yourself before you can walk into an interview and convince some manager that they need to invest in you. And so I just kind of off the top of my head, tying those things together, you have to know your value and know your wealth before you can convince anybody else that you are valuable and worthy of being paid.
Dr. Horn, where do we go from here?
Well, I think that to be true to the Reverend Jackson's legacy, speaking as a historian, as noted, I think that we have to make sure that his papers and his records are preserved. But I would also like to return to the question that you just raised to Wilmer. And I think we would be remiss if we failed to note the influence and the role of the late Ron Walters.
Yes, Dr. Ron Walters, presidential politics.
Exactly.
Yes.
And both Howard University and the University of Maryland. And I think with regard to your previous message about the District of Columbia government reaching out, I'm sure that many in our audience recall the Reverend Jackson's role as a so-called shadow senator in the yet to be completed attempt to bring statehood to the unrepresented in the District of Columbia, a majority Black city. And back to this issue that I think will occupy the attention of his biographers and many historians for some years to come. We already raised up the issue of the late Cannonball Adderley, but I also recall, I think it was 1979, that the Reverend Jackson gave this stirring eulogy at the funeral of the late Donny Hathaway.
Yes.
Which, of course, then brings us to Donny Hathaway's collaboration with the late Roberta Flack.
Yes.
Who also had an association with Howard University and was also a stellar performer. And as noted, I think that this cultural role and cultural responsibility of the Reverend Jackson will receive more than a footnote in what I'm sure will be an extensive biography.
Let me share with you something very quickly. And I know we have about 3 minutes before we come forward. Dick Clark, American Bandstand. had heard of this new program that was coming to life in Chicago called Soul Train. It was breaking records on Saturdays, and people were tuning into this African-American medium. And Dick Clark and ABC came up with a plan to put Soul Train out of business. It would be Jesse Jackson, who would threaten to boycott, I believe, ABC, met with Dick Clark and the chairman of the board of these various companies that carried American Bandstand, that backed American Bandstand off of Don Cornelius's program. Soul Train simply would have gone out of existence but for Jesse Jackson. It would be Jesse Jackson who would pull the brothers together. Michael, Jermaine, Jackie, Marlon, Tito, Randy, all of whom had lawyers. There would have been no victory tour, except for they trusted Jesse Jackson, and they asked Jesse Jackson if he would intervene and pull the brothers together. The brothers got together, they worked out something, and the victory tour commenced. It would be Jesse Jackson who encouraged advertisers to purchase ads in Jet Magazine and in Ebony Magazine, strengthening Mr. Johnson's corporation. And it would be Jesse Jackson that would introduce Don Cornelius to AfroSheen, George Johnson, and AfroSheen products to help catapult Soul Train to where it was and where it ultimately became. I remember Donnie Hathaway ringing my doorbell when I was a shorty one time. A man came to my door with a tam, and I called Dad and said, "Dad, there's a strange man at the front door." And he's ringing the doorbell. He said, "It's Donnie. Let him in. Tell him I'm running a little late. I'll be right there." And the day that Donnie Hathaway took his own life in New York, my father preached the funeral of Donnie Hathaway, and Layla could very well be the recipient of an invitation to perform at his services. It speaks volumes of Jesse Jackson's cultural influence. His life mattered. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward right here.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Black History Month, and our very special guest is Dr. Gerald Horne, an American historian who holds the John J. Rebecca Morse Chair of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. He was a contributing editor of Political Affairs magazine. In 1992, Dr. Horne was a candidate for the United States Senate on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket. His relentless tenacity for scholarly achievement is captured in his over 36 books, 100 scholarly publications, and most recently, his receipt of the 2021 American Book Award, The Dawning of the Apocalypse, The Roots of Slavery, White Supremacy, Settler Colonialism, and Capitalism in the Long 16th Century. Dr. Horne, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Horne, this is our final segment. Can you share with us your inspiration for why a Senate campaign in 1992 and why more specifically on a Peace and Freedom Party ticket?
Well, it had a lot to do, quite frankly, with the disappointment with the Democratic Party, which you and your guests have alluded to with regard to the 1984 and 1988 campaigns, not to mention the campaigns of Bernie Sanders in the 21st century. But once again, as a historian, in addition to being a political activist, I must seize this opportunity to recommend and suggest that Jesse Jackson Jr. write a memoir about his father, because you have recollections that no one else has, or at least no one outside of your family might have, with regard to Jack Odell, with regard to Donny Hathaway. And I'm sure that there are thousands of other recollections that'll be valuable for future generations to pore over, because I'm afraid to say that many of us have seen more yesterdays than we'll see tomorrows, but we'll have to try to understand the immense legacy of the Reverend Jackson, and that can be facilitated if you rush to the keyboard.
I promise you that I will. My father and I have written a number of books together, 2 books against the death penalty, legal lynching. We wrote It's About the Money, I believe in 1996, a guide to financial planning. I'm the author of A More Perfect Union, Advancing New American Rights, my most recent book, The Finger of God, based upon a discovery that I made in the Constitution of the United States, where I argue that the American experiment is actually a theological experiment. And I would love to write a memoir on the life of Jesse Jackson, a biography of sorts, sharing some of the intimate details of what made the psychology of Jesse Jackson, the things that he dealt with, the people that he dealt with, the people that he has helped along the way. And I don't think that there has been such a treatment, Dr. Horn, and I'm certainly going to give it some consideration. There are a number of ways to memorialize and to remember Jesse Jackson, and I'm working on about a half dozen of them right now. That Mrs. Jackson will be bringing forward during this period, ways to remember Jesse Jackson. But on the scholastic side, I find great interest in writing about his life and saving for future generations, documenting for future generations the contribution that he made, so that they too may learn and be able to build upon the shoulders of a titan, a extraordinary man in history. I try my best to look at my father as objectively as I can, even though the very nature of our relationship, father to son, is subjective. Dr. Horn, we have about 5 minutes before we come forward. How will history remember Jesse Jackson?
Oh, history.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Kimberly with BIA News Now. President Trump says he's deeply disappointed after the Supreme Court struck down his authority to impose sweeping global tariffs under a 1977 law.
And I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
In response, he announced plans to implement a 10% global tariff under the Trade Act of 1974. A new Economist YouGov poll finds 47% of Americans surveyed say the word racist accurately describes President Trump, while 24% disagree and 29% have no opinion. And rappers Travis Scott and Kanye West will headline the Helwa Festival in Italy this July. The two will take the main...
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Dr. Gerald Horn. Dr. Horn, welcome forward to the show. Dr. Horn, I try to give our guests the final 3 to 4 minutes to offer a word of hope to our listeners around the country and around the world. In light of the passing of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, there are people all over the world who are listening to our radio show together and at this hour and on this day. Dr. Horn, can you share with us a word of hope and a reflection, if you will, on the significance of the life of Jesse Jackson?
Well, I think in the words of the Reverend Jackson, we need to keep hope alive. But more than that, I think we need to build upon his immense legacy. For example, I would be remiss if I failed to acknowledge his contribution to the struggles of LGBTQ people, his support for same-sex marriage. In fact, helping to bring those particular issues to a national audience in 1984 and 1988, when it was considered unwise to do so. But once again, as a historian, I must stress the necessity for making sure his papers are deposited in an appropriate archive, to file Freedom of Information Act requests with the FBI and the CIA to get documents so we can ascertain what he was up against. And to reiterate, to recommend strongly that Jesse Jackson Jr. rush to the keyboard and produce a memoir, because he has recollections and memories that would be valuable to share with a wider audience.
I can't wait to do that. I might, in fact, try and find a way to do it with you, Dr. Horn. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. Horn, I'm so grateful that you spent this time with us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you again.
Have a great day. I want to just take the final 2 minutes of this program to say how grateful I am on behalf of all of you for the prayers that you've extended to my mother. My mother has been an amazing partner and caregiver, along with my siblings, and a team of caregivers over a decade for my dad. even as they evidenced last night, a few nights ago, people came when we called. I'm so proud of how brave my mom has been in tandem with the bravery, the courage, the fight, and perseverance of my dad to his very last breath. My dad was holding on and he was fighting for us. So grateful for his leadership, so grateful for his life. An extraordinary week in Black history, an extraordinary week in the history of my life. I'm really, really glad that I got the opportunity to share it with you. I could have taken this week off from Monday through Tuesday, through Wednesday, through Thursday, through Friday. This has been the most challenging week in my life. And yet in community, right here with you at KBLA Talk 1580, we've been able to work through our challenges together. And that's what I want us to think about and give some consideration to. Community. It's almost exactly what Bill Withers said when he said, lean on me. And I don't know where I would be without you. I don't know where I would be without Los Angeles. And I certainly don't know where I would be without the KBLA Talk 1580 family. More when we come forward on Monday. I'll see you guys next week on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber